Would you vote against Hitler in an election? If you vote against Hitler in an election, are you really voting against Hitler? It turns out, not as much as you likely believe. You see, by voting against Hitler, you are not just voting against Hitler, but you are also voting for the right of others to put Hitler in charge of you, if they happen to get the majority of the votes. You legitimize this system by participating in it. This is not a stretch of the imagination. It's not an obscure matter of principle. It's just the way the system works, plain and simple. It is often said that democracy is 9 sheep and 10 wolves in a room voting on what's for dinner. People who do not vote are often called lazy and apathetic, and all of the problems in a modern democracy are attributed to them. Critics say, if only more people voted, we'd elect the right guy who would pass the right laws and get the government under control. So, what if instead of everybody voting, everybody stopped voting? Well, a beautiful change would occur. There would no longer be the illusion of freedom. The facade of democracy would vanish. If nobody voted, the corrupt government would no longer be able to fraudulently claim that it was the will of the people. Everyone would be forced to recognize the government for what it was, a bloated, authoritarian entity with so much corruption it could never have been repaired by repeating the same processes that created it. Children would once again laugh and play in the streets, cooperative schools would be all the rage, and yes, the roads would still get built. Of course, the government doesn't represent the will of the people even now, and such a concept is quite silly because different people have different wills. If a government is the will of the people, that simply means that it has chosen one group of people to represent and another to oppress. Democracy is inherently sloppy and oppressive. It is a tyranny of the majority. Surely there are better solutions. In public schools, we are generally not taught any working alternatives to a democracy. We are taught the unquestionable assertion that democracy is the best form of government. Sure, we are taught about all the inferior modes of governing that are even more oppressive: monarchy, theocracy, oligarchy, aristocracy, etc. These are all things that most of our Western governments tend to act more like than a democracy. I remember having to memorize all of the different ocracies for a social studies test in high school. But never were we taught about voluntarism, examples of thriving stateless societies throughout world history, alternatives to hierarchical domination systems, loose consensus mechanisms, dispute resolution organizations, voluntary contracts, or agorism. We were never taught about Noam Chomsky's anarcho-syndicalism or Murray Rothbard's anarcho-capitalism. If your initial knee-jerk reaction is, wow, Pater is an idiot, those guys are quacks, and the reason they don't teach those ideas in school is because they obviously wouldn't work. Also, Somalia. Well, monarchy doesn't work by any rational standard, and neither does theocracy, and we learn about those. So what's the harm in learning about a system that actually has extensive theory behind it and claims to be a viable alternative to our current system of oppression and illusion? If you are interested in learning about some of the ideas I mentioned so that you can make a fair assessment, I suggest you check out the free ebook series I have linked below the video, an excellent and thought-provoking introduction to the possibility of non-state solutions to our problems. Would you vote against Hitler in an election? After watching this video, I hope your answer is resoundingly no. Because when you vote against Hitler, you're actually voting for Hitler, thanks to the illusion of democracy. Thanks for allowing me to brainwash you. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel.